everybody, and welcome to the Theatre Pitch podcast. I'm Jem, this is Sean.
Hello, I am Sean.
In a shirt as well, yeah. And this is Joe.
Hey everybody, I'm in a t-shirt.
Hey, I'm in a dress. Now that everybody's on the same page, this is the podcast where we take a random online encyclopedia article and we weird segue into.
You went weird, Gemma, really early. Like, it's not about what we wear, guys. It's about the person we are underneath the clothing.
But Sean, I've not seen you wear a shirt since graduation, and it's really throwing me. I can't stop staring.
Well, this is like a very important podcast. You know what I mean?
It's
episode 14, maybe.
It's the penultimate episode of the season.
Episode. So you should see what I'm going to wear for the final episode.
Oh,
I'm going to suit up.
We're gonna suit up.
I'm gonna suit up. I've decided now, and I'm also gonna stand up during that podcast to prove that I'm fully suited up. Okay. Right.
Okay.
So theatre.
Yes.
Go.
The podcast where we take an online encyclopedia article and we each turn it into a theatre show. We pitch it together, and at the end of the podcast, hopefully you know this already, we smush it together, and one day we will be very, very successful in it. This episode's online encyclopedia article is No More Shall We Part by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Joe, would you like to radio your voice? One day, I think next episode I'm going to get Sean to do it, but for this episode, Joe.
I gotta be honest, there was part of me was really tempted to do this one in a radio voice, going for something of a kind of Nick Cave baritone Australian drawl to it, but then I thought, No More Shall We Part is the 11th studio album by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, released on 2nd of April 2001 in the UK, and 8 days later in the US. The album came after a 4-year gap from recording following the much-acclaimed The Boatman's Call. Cave had to overcome heavy heroin and alcohol addictions in 1999 to 2000 before starting work on the album. It was met with mostly positive reviews.
Brilliant. How did we find this article?
Well, I had the advantage of this one, I think, in comparison to the two of you, that I'd heard the album before we recorded.
I listened to the two primary singles and I quite enjoyed
Sorry,
them.
I meant I'd heard it before we recorded last week's episode.
You'd heard it before you'd even read the article.
Put simply, I'm a big fan of Nick Cave. I have read 2 of his novels. I have seen multiples of his films, both written and recorded. I went to see a production of Metamorphosis at the Rep in Birmingham, purely because he was doing the soundtrack to it, and it was brilliant. I've got a lot of Nick Cave knowledge to impart over this episode, so.
And I only read this article and listened to it, so I did not know any of that. Which, when you hear my pitch, is going to be the fatal flaw, I think. Sean, what did you think?
I enjoyed the music. I had a nice listen, and it was enjoyable. Yeah, it's been a good week. I won't line. I've been distracted by other things. I've discovered the game called Fall Guys, and It is brilliant. So I've been playing a lot of that, and also thinking about this podcast as well. Just sort of taking my mind off the actual off the task. So like at the back of my mind, it can really come up with the idea. So
Sean,
that's my excuse for playing video games.
How long before we launch our spin-off podcast where it's me, you, and 3 male friends eating chips and playing Fall Guys that we call 5 Guys, Fall Guys, and Fries?
Oh my god! Right.
I'm
the
so
exclusive
hungry
Fall
now.
Guys
I am
podcast.
Cutting this bit out because Gold was just spewed out of his mouth. The problem is though, have we got 3 other friends?
We've got at least 1, and he can do characters.
Okay.
Oi,
so then if we do it as a podcast, Tom could be all 3.
Okay, so who wants
Jen,
to go?
the podcast. Let's carry on.
Yeah, because apparently this is the only podcast.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the only podcast, Serial Who? It's Theatre Pitch.
Yeah, no, I found this article really, really interesting. So I'm very, very excited about my idea. I'm not entirely sure it is theatre.
Gemma, this is like the 5th time already you've said you're excited about your idea. Right, so just
Gemma,
say it.
just
We know
do
you
your
want to go
idea.
first. Just
No,
say
I
your
want to
idea.
hear your guys' ideas.
You're going first.
You've sold it too well.
Oh no. Okay, alright, fine.
Tell us your idea.
I've actually written down my idea, and we know that Jem gets excited when she writes down the idea.
Oh, you've written something down. Hang on, let me get comfortable.
It's less full detail, because, and I'm going to go into a little less detail because Joe's just sort of blown the first half of it out of the water. But, so, No More Shall We Part, which is the name of the performance, goes like this. Whilst the audience wait, served drinks and made comfortable, and with the echoes of No More Shall We Part, the album, playing distantly in the background, they are asked to fill in a short questionnaire. In this questionnaire, there are questions about their life, their story, and their beliefs, their lively existential beliefs. They are then ushered into the auditorium, a formally informal setting. So it's a fringe venue with all the workings of an art gallery, you know, those sort of high-end fringe venues rather than the back of a pub. Here they watch a 1-hour theatre production. We open to a Nick Cave sat nervously as he waits for his lift. Today he leaves rehab. He is equally excited and nervous. The hard work starts now. He is excited to rejoin his band. He's been writing as part of his journey through the program and through his recovery. His writing is clearer than before, and his vocals have improved since he's gotten clean. We follow this semi-biographical story of how No More Shall We Part came to being, how it saw success, and how this man, Nick Cave, used his art to free himself of his addiction and has to learn to keep his addiction from returning due to the success of his art. So very much that kind of biographical style 1-hour show. Very touching. Very going into it. The show is a story about bearing your soul for your art, because he very much talks about that in this article. And it culminates in the moment where he receives a letter and an invite informing him that his art, his life in a way, has inspired a young artist to create a gallery of work and inviting him to view the work. So meanwhile, behind the scenes, there is a group of artists taking the stories and answers given to them at the beginning of the show from that night's audience's questionnaires, and they take, over the hour of the theatre performance, they create a gallery of artwork from that stimulus. So each audience member, in theory, could have a piece of art in a gallery that is inspired by them. As the Nick Cave of our show discovers the invitation to his gallery and laments about how life is art and art is life, he sets off to the gallery. And as he leaves, the back of the stage splits open and pulls away to reveal that the space that we have the performance in is far larger than expected and shown, and that a gallery has been installed at the back of the performance space that the audience are then going to be ushered into. And it features all of the work inspired by the audience's lives and stories. And then, of course, because I'm me, and I always like to finish on a wankery term, art is life, and life is art, and any life is worthy of art. There you go.
So is the gallery part of the show?
Yes.
But it's real.
It's real. Okay. All right, well then maybe they don't get comfortable. But the point is that they answer a questionnaire. This is where I was like, Joe's gonna pull me apart, because mainly my idea. I really like this idea. I really, when I was reading the article, liked the fact that this album inspired this artist to go and 17 years later create a gallery of paintings inspired by the work. And I actually looked at a lot of them and looked at the journey of that gallery quite a lot. And it's amazing artwork.
I remember that bit in the article. I just thought you were being all arty-farty, but it's in the article, Joe. It is
in the article.
I'm on your side, Gemma. I'll back you up. It makes sense.
If you read the article and then re-listen to my pitch, you will see that I've really intricately put in something from every paragraph. But no, I mean, I was really interested in this idea, and I was really captured by the idea that your life can be, he spoke a lot about how his going to rehab, and after rehab, the critics were like, his lyrics were a lot clearer and his vocals had a lot more range. And he spoke a lot of the gallery, about how it really imitated how his approach to writing came, and his approach to making music, and the inner workings of that. And I kind of was struck by this idea that you can walk into a gallery and it really reflect the stories that you have,
So it's like a biographical theatre piece of his time after rehab.
Yeah, well, it was, that's what it was. I mean, originally I was like, I just want to have this gallery where it's, and I was like, maybe people, before they get tickets to this gallery, they have to fill in a questionnaire in order to get the tickets, and then it's created from that. But then I was thinking, that's not theatre, and this is the Theatre Pitch podcast. And so I was like, how do I make it theatre? And then I was like, we'll make it a challenge, and because I was torn when I was reading it. I was like, I really like this idea of the idea of recovery, and the idea of making yourself a better person and using art as your way to guide that journey and help yourself. And I've always been an advocate for how art and theatre is therapy. So I was really taken by that, and then I was just like, I've had this idea for this gallery, and it's a challenge gallery and a challenge to artists, and I love it. And then I was like, oh, you can do both.
Okay, I like it, Gemma. I like the integration of all of the aspects of the Wikipedia article, and I like you've managed to keep the integrity of this podcast when you were like, that's not theatre, let's make it theatre for the Theatre Pitch podcast. Because in the past, I feel that some of us, notably, maybe me and Joe, have been very fast and loose with the term theatre.
But at the same time, theatre can be argued to be pretty much anything. So,
yeah.
It's not... none of us have really pitched something that's like, oh, it's just some paintings on a wall, which was essentially what I was going to pitch.
Oh.
No, you've had performance in that.
To be fair, I mean, we do have to bear in mind 1 week my pitch was for a show that was just a talk about racism in Canada. But there wasn't a theatrical bent to it. It was just a discussion.
But here's the thing.
That's a long time ago, wasn't it?
I always go back to, we studied a really, really diverse course on drama and theatre. And as part of that, as part of the performance program, you are taught about public speaking. And a lot of it is also that. And we studied the performative element of public speaking. So I give that a pass. And
you done really well on that one, didn't you, Jem?
We've stepped on, we've stepped on also in that course, we stepped on performance art, and how performance art is actually theatre as well. That's a large part of the study of drama and theatre. What we didn't study is pictures on a wall. So that's where I was like, that's my tether, is like, if it can be found in a drama course or something that's studied by drama students, then it's theatre. Whereas fine art and art is not studied by theatre students, no, at least not part of their paid for vocation.
I'll go next.
All right.
Okay.
Mine's set in space.
Oh my god. Real space? Or a space?
Okay,
or...
in the sense that all things are technically in space, for space is everything.
Sean,
Are we on about outer space?
How many tinfoiled stars are we talking?
Mindset.
Sean, how method did you get this week, and how much heroin have you had?
I don't know why. I don't like. I've genuinely tried to get away from space during this week, but as soon as it was in my head, I was like, I'm doing it. Right. Okay.
Space.
I'm not gonna.
I'll go into it with an open mind.
Yeah. I'm going to go into it not knowing that I'm going to regret my statement that anything is theatre.
Just go with it. And as soon as Gemma went serious, I knew I had to go next. Okay. So, my story.
My note so far is space. Go for it.
It's going to be a stage performance with a musical aspect. There's going to be a piano on stage. And the story is about a man who's taken up a mission, taken up a new job, and on his job he has to record reports for his job, and it's all about the reports start off very serious, but then he sort of like he goes off on a tangent and starts really just talking about his life and how he got there, and how he ended up in the job, and how he ended up taking a job that has sent him away from his family and from his friends, and why he wanted to do that. And it's all about how he lost someone he loves, and he regrets it, and that's the reason why he felt distant from people. And it's set in space. The mission that he's on is a space mission to Mars. And do you want to know why? Because I tried to be all serious. And I was like, okay, so what we got? Oh, it was released in 2001. And I was like, what happened in 2001? And then I couldn't... As soon as I Googled 2001, it came up. And I should have knew it was coming up. 2001 Spaceology. And then, ever since I was like,
Space Odyssey.
To Odyssey. I'm going to have to edit this
Someone's
out again.
going to message this in the comment. Okay, Sean, you can do a second take.
It's
what
set.
happened in 2001, Sean?
Liverpool won the League Cup.
Okay.
And the UEFA Cup. It's a good season. Yeah. So it's this guy on a mission in space, one-man mission in space, and he's telling his life story through, his mission logs and his daily reports. And each day ends with him playing one of the songs on a piano that just happens to be in his spaceship. And I'm having it, okay. And that's my thing, because when I was listening to the music, I liked it. And I was like, no matter what I do, I've got to have a piano, and I've got to have the songs being sung because they're really good. And I thought, musical's a bit too obvious, but I thought each song just ending a scene, just sort of like just how can I say?
So is it the songs from the
expressing,
album?
Expressing the character's feeling for what's just happened and what he said. Yeah. So it's that 2001. Space. Oh, I thought Joe was going to say it for.
Oh, sorry, Odyssey.
Odyssey. Yeah. So and that's sort of like the little, the B plot. The computer's trying to kill him.
So
it's in space.
The connection to the article is playing music.
Yeah, it's playing the music.
The music.
Yes, Gemma.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the best I've come up with, but I would definitely watch it.
Joe, just because I haven't listened to all of the album, would that work? With the story in the album, if there is a story in the album?
Well, I will say here that before we approach this, it's never known fully whether the quote was kind of in tongue-in-cheek, but Nick Cave has said before, despite kind of heavy kind of storytelling elements to his songs, he kind of hates the notion of narrative song.
Okay.
And he kind of, despite heavily engaging in it, he also seems to hate it. So the good thing is that, therefore, while this is one of his more kind of, like, as is noted in the article, it's one of his less obscure lyrically albums, it's still very much open to reinterpretation.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I can have it in space.
Also, as you probably know from the bits you've listened to, this is very much in the phase where Nick Cave was heavy on the piano tracks, so is a good one for being solo piano.
Yeah. See, Gemma, it's not weird. I mean, it is weird, but it's not as weird as you think.
No, I mean, I know that the piano was involved. The piano was involved in the gallery as well.
It's on the big thing, because I'm going for the 2001 like theme. It's on a rotating stage.
Okay.
Because obviously, while I'm in space, I have to recreate gravity. So the stage rotates, because obviously...
Is he also going to be doing the standing on one leg and sort of hovering a little bit to seem like he's in space?
No, that'd be a bit too much.
Gravity-enabled ship, then, yeah.
It's in space, and it's rotating.
Okay. Like it. All right. Joe, any questions? For the curveball?
Well, I do have to ask Sean, the reasoning behind the kind of musical element, was that purely to tie it into the album, or do you see a thematic purpose to the singing?
No, it was... The music is to end, sort of like... End the scene. It's a sort of like... It's sort of like a break, like a next page. It's sort of like a palate cleanser for like his next day on the mission.
Also, can I assume that we're not going to have him playing full versions of the songs at the end of each scene? Considering, like,
The opening
some of
was
these songs
6
have
minutes.
nigh on 8 minutes.
Maybe not all of them. Maybe not all of it. The good bits, the chorus.
Yeah.
I was thinking, have you ever
Like-
watched Toast of London?
Yes.
You know how at like the sort of like 3/4 bit of every episode he has a song? That's what I was sort of thinking. Just like a random song. And it's like, yeah, it's nice.
Okay. All right. Well, Joe, fan of Nick Cave, let's hand
So-
the episode to you.
So, I'm glad Sean had a moment of fun just there, because I'm about to bring the mood down a bit again. I want to kind of preface this by making reference to 2 other Nick Cave albums, which is namely the one prior to this album, The Boatsman's Call, is sometimes regarded as Nick Cave's masterpiece.
Okay.
And it is an incredibly somber album. It's, up until this point, Nick Cave's albums have been very jagged, very angry. And this album was more muted, more kind of resigned, is basically the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
And it's not known entirely what it's about, but many people have interpreted it to be about just not so much a specific breakup, but it being a breakup album of a collection of musings on almost all his breakups.
Okay.
Now we also fast forward then to, I think it's 2008 we're talking, and he releases an album called Dig Lazarus Dig, where the title track is essentially a modern retelling of the story of Lazarus from the Bible, who, if you don't know, Lazarus is a man who comes back from the dead, is essentially all you really need to know.
Who doesn't
And
know
it's
what Lazarus is?
You might not. But essentially the question Nick Cave asks in the song is, did anyone ask Lazarus whether he wanted to come back?
Okay.
And it's just the question of him crawling out of the grave only to eventually return to it. So mine is also a very kind of, it's a symbolic piece that in many ways references one of Samuel Beckett's masterpieces, Happy Days, which is a predominantly solo show where a woman is at the beach talking about her life as she is slowly buried up to the neck in sand.
Okay.
Isn't it funny that I made a joke last week about using a Beckett play? And Joe's
well, the thing is, I also
there."
realise a lot of this is me going full circle and making references back to an episode of this podcast that we never released. So there are going to be allusions to things in here that won't make sense to anyone but you two.
I did remember that episode, and I was like, if only I could remember what I pitched for that.
Yeah. But
What
so
episode?
do you not remember the first the test part we did? 10 Steps from Hell, wasn't it? By Misfits?
No. If it's not on on YouTube, it didn't exist. It's not canon. And if it's not canon, I don't remember it.
If you want to hear that episode, go to the same landfill in New Mexico where all the copies of E.T. for the Atari are.
Okay.
There's a USB
Back
with
to your
MP4
idea,
file
Jim.
on it.
So my idea, essentially, it takes a very unsubtle and bleak metaphor where it is essentially a libretto in the sense that the only sound that will be heard on stage is the songs themselves, because I realised that such am I a Nick Cave fanboy, I couldn't even imagine a world in which I try to write dialogue to match up to his songs.
That's a tall statement. Wow.
Yeah. So, first half of the show, a central character who appears to be very dishevelled and looking somewhat drug-addled walks around the stage and gathers the tools to construct his own coffin. Then, as soon as the coffin is finished and being constructed, he places it up on a mount, and that's when, finally, the first drums and pianos of And I Sat Sadly by Her Side kick in. Over the course of this, he then lies in the coffin as dirt is slowly poured into it, and he performs the entirety of the album with a live band or with a backing track, depending on budget.
Wow. If anybody was watching that moment, you saw both Sean and my faces say 1,000 words.
Yeah. So that's it. It's half wordless performance art piece about a man constructing a coffin, and half a man sat still while dirt is poured on top of him as he performs the music of Nick Cave.
Oh, the dirt is being poured on top of him rather than just on top of the coffin.
No, it's being poured into the coffin. So the idea is it starts up covering his feet, and by the end of the play is somewhere round about his neck level.
Okay, so he's in the coffin.
Yeah. He is in the coffin as the dirt is poured into the coffin. I know that's not how coffins work, it's symbolic.
Yeah.
Symbolic of what? I don't know. Is it a metaphor for saying that people taking drugs are digging their own graves? Maybe.
I mean,
it's open to interpretation.
Open to
It's quite serious.
Yeah, I thought I was pitching something that was serious. I underestimated you, Joe.
Look, you
I've
gave
never
me
thought
Nick
that.
Cave. You should have known this was going to get bleak.
No, because when I listened to the music, it was a little bit somber. Yeah, but it was quite inspirational. I got my vibe from his vibe. And my vibe's like, art is life, and all life is worthy of art.
See, I was going for the fact that just basically kind of re-listening to it, I felt like the entire mood of the first few tracks, like the strings especially, are very elegiac, and I just felt like it was very funereal in its tone.
Wow, I need to re-listen to that. Sean, have you got any comments?
Are we gonna do? I think we should do it in like an arena, and have it like.
I did actually have my pitch for this week, which is also Joe's weekly regional theatre spotlight.
I didn't do it this week.
You didn't.
Nick Cave is a noted resident of Brighton, and the Brighton Theatre Royal is another stunning theatre.
Brilliant.
It is nice. Right in the centre of town as well. And it's got really
Exactly.
cool architecture.
And
it's really nice.
And I love the crossover of having this beautiful ornate theatre and essentially people going there to watch one man sing in a coffin filled with dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jem.
It's a hard
and now
sell,
we've got
I
to
know.
smush them all together.
Now we've got to smush them all together. Okay, so I'm going to start with an easy thing, which is a new addition to our little list of things we need to make a theatre show, which is, inspired by Sean, location.
Oh.
Space. Okay.
Space.
No, I think physical location. I think the Brighton Theatre Royal would work really, really lovely.
Either that, or we see if Big Elon's interested in hosting the first theatre show in space.
He'd probably go for that.
It's
you'd
set
hope.
on the International Space Station.
Okay, you
couldn't do that. They wouldn't let you have so
Put
much
dirt.
free dirt.
You
They wouldn't let you do that.
couldn't do dirt.
It wouldn't pour onto the coffin. It would just be like...
Yeah, that's true. The gravity would make filling the coffin quite difficult.
It would be really, really fun though if it was like, oh, here's your life story, but here's your life story that's being painted in space.
I won't lie to you guys. Mine actually wasn't in space. It was pretend in space. It was going to be in a theatre.
So we're gonna go with the Brighton Theatre Royal. Okay. So story-wise, we've got the biography of Nick Cave leading to a lovely moment of art and a reveal of a challenge moment. We've got Sean's Spaceman records stuff and plays some songs. And we've got Joe's only songs filling a coffin full of dirt. Wow. How are we going to smush this story together?
I know. Have you remember Life on Mars?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about
You're
what
not going to
happened with
mention
the US version?
Oh, no, no.
Oh no, I haven't seen the US version because the UK version was singular.
So the US version it's very similar to the British one, where he gets hit by a car or something and he goes back in time and he's like, yo, I'm in. But it turns out that they're all in all of the characters, they're all actually in the future, and they're all having a joint hallucination, and they're all astronauts going off into Mars.
What?
We do have to reference here that, you know how... Spoiler alert for a TV show that's about 13 years old. You know how the ending of Life on Mars kind of leaves it very ambiguous as to whether he survives or not?
Yes.
Or what happened? Yeah, they don't. They make it very clear what's happened. And it's actually that he was dreaming and that he's an astronaut in space.
Oh, no.
And they're on a hunt for life on Mars. They're looking for life on Mars. Or they're on a gene hunt.
Oh my goodness. Wait, okay.
That's an actual thing.
So Sean turning around and saying, at the end, he wakes up and he's in space, wasn't his pitch as to how we fix this show and put it together. That was legitimately what somebody pitched and did.
This isn't just something that was pitched and did. This is something that happened. Also, Gene Hunt is actually Major Tom, the commander of the space mission back on Earth. And it turns out the entire thing was basically just because Sam was pining for, was it Annie, the kind of love interest in the show? Who's with Ray.
Okay, let's stop, because I remember seeing that show, and the ending was one of the few things that genuinely moved me.
It's important to note that you can consider this practically fan fiction.
Stop ruining it.
This is like that last chapter of
This
is like the last chapter of Deathly Hallows. It's fan fiction. You can ignore it.
We're gonna do Joe's show, and then just as he's buried, right? Listen. Just as he's buried in the dirt, right? The back of the stage is gonna open up. And it's going to be a rocket ship getting ready to go. And then he's going to reappear from the dirt in a spacesuit. and he goes in and he goes off.
I don't know why. I really thought what you were about to pitch was he's being buried up to his face, and then just before the dirt hits him, suddenly an artist turns up and inspires him to live by telling you about a gallery inspired by his work. So instead he goes to space.
Finally, we've
We've
stuck
done it.
on it.
We've done it.
Finally, we've
Boom.
stuck on something that's made me rub my face in absolute bewilderment to the fact where I've forgotten I had makeup on. So I'm covered in soot right now.
He gets to the gallery and it's all paintings of star systems, and he's like, "Oh, space."
Okay. I don't like that. I like your evolving stage. And I like the life story. And I like how the music is contributing to the life story.
But you don't like space.
I like space. I really do.
But not for this.
I'm good. Not for this.
I'm putting my foot down.
I mean, I feel like at this point it's worth us just referencing the final track on Nick Cave's No More Shall We Part, Darker with the Day, where he sings that I was looking for an entity for some kind of closure. Time moved so rapidly I had no hope to keep track of it, and I thought of my friends who had died of exposure, and I remembered the ones who had died from a lack of it.
So space then, it's being set in space.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's set in space and everyone's dead.
Okay.
I would.
So Sean wins.
No,
Anybody who's disagreeing
you
with
know
this.
what? How I mean, I think there is a way to take what is kind of the essential theme of all of our pieces, which is space, coffin,
Art.
losing oneself and losing one's own art, which is essentially all three of them cover isolation. All three of them essentially cover an essential element of being stranded away from where you would hope to be that emotionally happy on Earth or with your art.
Okay.
And I think there is something to be explored in all of our looking at isolation in one way or another. And this could be our way to link them together. That doesn't necessarily have to involve going to space. It could, but it doesn't have to. Discuss.
I like that. I like that you've picked on something like that. I'm very.
This can all be cut out of the podcast, yeah? This moment where we're like, right, Sean.
No, I like the art challenge aspect of my idea, and I don't know if I'm just being very precious about it, or if it is something that is worthy of keeping in as an idea to smush. Be honest.
All right, so I feel like we've all got an essential element here of. Sean seems very unwilling to compromise on the it's in space.
Yes.
You are quite unwilling to compromise on the it's about art.
Well, not that it's about art. I like the idea that the audience's life becomes art pieces.
Well, you know what? I will actually say, in you saying the stage opens up at the end of it, that also does play into the previously mentioned production of Metamorphosis I saw with soundtrack by Nick Cave, because at the end of it, after Gregor Samsa's died, the back of the stage opened up, and what was previously a kind of almost model house type set was revealed to be something of a kind of orchard full of cherry blossoms as flowers fell down the stage and the family walked off blissfully happy now that the monstrous part of their life had died. So, is there any way that what we can do is, I'm essentially seeing, what if we can produce something based around these clashing elements of we've got kind of someone who's just trying to explore their art, someone who's just trying to be in space, and someone who seems to have no wish other than to essentially commit acts of self-punishment. and all three of them are forced to exist in the same space, and they're struggling with the clashes formed by attempting to have these three disparate elements on the same one stage.
I like
Let's
that.
do it. Let's do it.
I like
Space.
in space. I'm just now seeing you've got the artist sitting there painting and monologuing. You've got the guy trying to bury himself and continuously shushing the monologuing artist to play music instead. And then a Joey from Friends type character who just appears in his space suit and is like, I've got a solution. We can go to space.
Basically, yeah, it's kind of like if Vincent van Gogh and Hamlet were in a room together, then Buzz Lightyear ran through.
Let's do that. That's the show. That's the show.
That's the show. I like it. Okay, I like... Oh. Okay, how about... All right, as... Let's... Because I like the libretto element of yours, Joe, so that...
It's called The Dutchman, the Bard, and the Rocket Man.
Yes. I like the idea that primarily the dialogue, well, not dialogue, primarily the words and the audio is the track and the tracks from this album. And now I'm pitching this knowing that I've listened to 2 tracks. So how about it's this idea that is primarily happening, maybe interspersed with a couple of monologues, but the set is being painted by our artist and reflecting the joys of life. So they're representing that art is life and it's wonderful and you can paint it as many colours as you want. Then you've got the dichotomy and of the guy who's like, I'm just gonna bury myself because it's somber and it's not worth it. And you take that other interpretation of the lyrics of Nick Cave. And then I feel like maybe it's a story where it's possibly we take the life on Mars thing and it's actually these are the 2 thoughts that are going through a spaceman's head before he's sitting there. Maybe we open on a guy in his spacesuit listening to this album as the last thing that he listens to before he goes up, and he's both really excited about the fact that he's now a spaceman and he's going to go to space, but then he's also very aware that it's going to space is very life-threatening and that he might not come back. And so he's got that idea of like, am I just sending myself to my own grave? But also that child like, oh my goodness, I'm Buzz Lightyear. But it's actually it's No More Shall We Part is about this spaceman about to jet off to Mars on the first Mars mission. But he's sitting there having this conflict of emotion that are manifested by these 2 individuals. How about that?
I just realised me setting it in space has really ruined this podcast. Oh, sorry.
Now, essentially, what we have here is a piece about art itself and the struggle of the artist to rein in every creative whim that they have. For they have the element of them that wishes to just produce art about art. We have the artist wishing to engage in their most morose thoughts, and then the part of the artist that just thinks, fuck it, what if it was in space? It's the 3 personas of the artist.
Happening backstage, yeah.
And
Everything
that
will be
is
better.
the struggle of the writer.
Yeah, the
But, so have we
underlying
done it?
subtext
Have we done
is
it?
it's just a show about writer's block.
No, mine was about Lost.
Okay,
In
what if
space?
once again it was the one, but it's Nick Cave killing off all his bad ideas?
No. Okay, so are we
done
happy
it.
with the
No.
idea of it being, I don't know, about the Rocket Man with his childlike...
Yes, yes, we've done this, guys.
I think, yeah. I am happy with it being all three of our productions practically at the same time, and them having issues with each other because they're trying to perform their thing and it keeps cutting in between.
No, because we always cop out by doing that. And Joe, that's just a cop out.
Jem, we've already explained
it's
the show,
narrative
guys.
Dissonance, Jem.
Don't
it's
ask Gemma to explain the show again.
I'm not explaining the show again. We've explained it. So the stage, I like that it's rotating, and the set is also being painted as the show goes along.
You know what I also like about this? We're keeping the rotating stage despite it being in the Theatre Royal, which is front on.
That's fine.
Stage.
So the stage is going to rotate to face away from the audience.
Yeah, that's fine. There's 3 characters. So...
Yeah.
And they can move.
And it doesn't have to be painted onto something that's opaque. The set could be painted onto acetate. Clear see-through
How about
stuff.
this?
Glass.
We have the stage rotating because one audience member is positioned on the stage. At
No,
the
you're just
back,
getting
so
silly now.
occasionally the
You're just
stage
getting
just
silly.
rotates to face only this one person.
Okay, no rotating stage. It's just at the Brighton Theatre Royal. I like that. That can be, whatever is there is the stage. So it's end on or front end, whatever. The cast there are 3 people happening. One's burying themselves, one's doing some art, one's a spaceman. And are there any other needs that we need other than a lot of paint? Because if we're doing multiple runs of this, and then a lot of sand.
No.
Rights. We need the rights to use the music.
The rights to use the music.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on whether Sean wants us to pull back the stage at the end and reveal a full rocket.
I
Yes.
like that idea, because then it's like, there's all the budget.
And it can be like the Rocket Man was right all along. I got this. It can be like, I got this, guys. Bring your paint in. Come on.
Okay, so I like that. I like that we've got a giant rock at the end, because there's always some fun thing to be like, well, there's where the budget went.
There's a giant rocket at the end because in the Wikipedia article there was a link to 2001.
Yes.
Not the film, literally the year.
And
Right, well done, guys. We've done it. And it's called... I'm sticking The Dutchman, The Bard, and The Rocket Man. There we go.
I like it.
I was going to pitch going for a pun based on the album's title and the fact that it involves a trio, which is calling it No More Shall 3 Parts. But
All right.
I also like a
like
Dutchman, a
Sean's
spaceman,
title.
and an artist.
That could be the subtitle.
Yes. There you go.
It's also keep with the 3s. Jem, you've got to add a second subtitle.
Oh, fuck.
No, you can't have that.
Naming things, and we know this. I've had one good naming thing, and that's my show. I'm just staring at Abbey Road Studios.
In that case, it's called It's called Sean. What was your part?
It was called The Dutchman, The Bard, and The Rocket Man.
Or No More Shall 3 Parts, or Not Live from Abbey Road.
No. Or, what was the wankery thing I ended my pitch on? Any life
what was
is
it?
worth...
Art is life and life is art? Or
Any
something?
life is worthy of art.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. There we go. So we have a title. But Sean, do we have a show for next week?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, do you not know what we're doing next week?
I do, but pretend I don't because the audience don't.
Okay, so next week, it's going to be the final episode of season 1 of the Theatre Pitch podcast. We made it. Woo! So I thought, everyone celebrate. So I thought, instead of doing just like another random article, what we're going to do is each of us are going to take 3 articles from the season and make a theatre pitch using all 3 of them articles that we are given. Yes?
Okay, so we're smushing those articles together.
We're smushing. All three of us are doing our own smushing. Yeah.
Oh.
We'll
Okay.
get our own smush.
Now, what I have is a list of all of the articles randomly numbered. So I have I've got, let's do some highlights. I've got Wikipedia, obviously. Edward Cullen. Mr. Bubble, everyone's favourite. So all we've got to do is Joe and Gemma, you've got to pick 3 numbers for everyone, right? Because I thought
Between 1 and 15.
can't. Yeah, because originally I was going to do, well, I'll pick your numbers, you pick his numbers, he picks my numbers, but I can't really pick your numbers because I know the numbers. So
True.
I can't pick the numbers. So Gemma, you go first, picking Joe's numbers.
1, 7, 14.
Okay, Joe, you have Mr. Bubble.
Mm-hmm.
No More Shall We Part. Oh, that's lucky. And gymnastics at the 1984 Summer Olympics.
Yes, that's right. The friendship games are coming back.
No. Joe, you pick numbers for Gemma.
Okay. Could you remind me what numbers Gemma just said?
Really, she's just done it. She picked number 1.
I know what the articles were. I just want to know the numbers.
She picked number 1, number 7, and 14.
Okay, in that case, I'm gonna go for 3, 6, and 9.
Ooh.
Ooh.
'Cause I
Okay,
like patterns.
so you've got the bravest. If we all remember
Don't
the
tell me I got a
fireboat.
water article. I don't want the water article.
No, you've got Kyle Beaterman and list of terms related to an average person.
You got some good ones there.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you got bravest.
Are you
that was
saying
the
you
one.
weren't hoping to get the bravest and gay Hitler?
I'm happy that bravest is there, but the list of terms for everyday person, I'm pretty sure I pitched a murder mystery on a bus.
Yeah.
And now,
Um,
between the 3 of yours, pick 3 for me. Simple as.
All right,
Okay.
Gem.
Yeah.
Because I'm being kind, I'm gonna let you pick 1 and 3, as in not like the numbers 1, 3, but you get his
As I say, they're
first and
gone.
his third pick, and I'll just take his second.
13.
Okay, 13. Okay. Do you want me to say them? Okay, so
No,
13,
Yeah, go ahead and say them on each one at a time.
13, Life Entity, DC Comics.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna go for I'm just gonna go 2.
Ooh.
Otto Eichmann, the
I
painter.
feel like we're playing Countdown
the
right
artist.
now. It's brilliant.
And Gem, your last pick.
6. No, I've got 6. I've even written the numbers down. I'm just incompetent. 5.
Wikipedia. Oh, I didn't really want that one. And then to just prove, can you see the numbers? They're backwards. I haven't cheated. That's evidence. Look, you
So-
can see Joe's face twice there
So
if I put it like
next
that.
week we will be hearing Gem's pitch for
Bravest, Carl Biederman, and a list of terms for everyday people. Something
And
like
we'll be
that.
hearing Joe's pitch for...
No More Shall We Part, Mr. Bubble, and gymnastics at the 1986 Winter Olympics.
84.
I was close.
And we will be hearing from Sean's.
It will be about Otto Eichmann, Wikipedia, and the Life Entity from DC Comics. I basically got the one I wanted, let's be honest.
Ew. Okay.
And
Well, Sean,
that's,
with your
that's
wonderful...
the end of...
with
Oh,
y-
sorry, Gemma. It was a good idea,
So-
wasn't it?
It was a good idea.
I had to have one on this podcast. And they're all set in space.
And with that,
No, Joe, I've got to do the socials. It ain't over yet.
Yeah.
I've got to do my spiel.
Do the socials.
Hey guys, if you want to find out more about OFITD and our upcoming shows, maybe we'll go to the Edinburgh Fringe at some point in the future. Who knows? But if you want to find out all that, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and that is at OFITD Arts, or just OFITD, or just go on to OFITD.com, where you can find all of that, and you won't have to be like, oh, is it Arts on Instagram, or is it not on Instagram? It doesn't matter. Okay, and if you want to follow me, it's still Shawnee B on Instagram. And if you want to follow Gemma, hey Gemma, what are your socials?
It's OFITD_gem.
With a J.
Yeah, let's stick with that one.
Hey, and Joe,
yeah, Sean.
where can people find you, man?
Oh, well, if they want to find me on Twitter, you can do so at Not Joe Ronchka. Do you know how you spell that, Sean?
I don't. You'll have to tell me.
I have to say, Joe, I had a weird, dyslexic moment where I was like, I've known Joe forever and I've always been able to spell his name, but now I couldn't. And then I was just like, you know what I can do? I can be like, oh, let's sing the How to Spell Joe's Name song.
Sing it.
Because it is. Say it with me, kids at home. NOTJOERACZKA. And
just do that. Just follow the stuff, and then we'll be here next week, probably. Yeah. And then there'll probably be a big gap, so we can think of other stuff to do. And then after that, maybe a second series. Who knows?
Or we might be doing
Who
something
ends the
else.
podcast?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, I mean, just wait till they see the big twist at the end of the series finale, where we've all been in space the entire time.